This is your girl, Kimberly Harris. Welcome to the Bitter Greens podcast. I hope you guys are taking care of yourselves this week. I know that it's been anxiety on high as it relates to the election and on top of other things that we've been going through. But I hope you're taking a minute for self-care, even, taking a step back from social media, turning off the TV if you need to, and pressing that block button on a couple of people on your Facebook and, just not looking at pages on Instagram and other social media accounts. It's necessary sometimes, and don't be afraid, to use those options. Anyway, this week I'd like to talk to you guys about playing it safe. This is something that I have been toying with in my own brain for some time, but it really was triggered maybe a couple of weeks ago. I was talking to a good friend, and I'm not quite sure what we were talking about, but he said, "Yeah, man, you're pretty safe." Like as in, play it safe. I looked at the text message and was like, what? I ain't safe. What you talking about? And, I don't know why I took it as an insult, but I did write back with a little bit of attitude. And then I stepped back for a minute. I was like, you know what? Let me process this. And you're right. In certain cases, I wouldn't call it safe. I would call it strategic. But like in cases like my hair and those kinds of things, I'm pretty much safe. And so much so with my hair that I forced myself to try different things. I did that recently with the hairstyle I got. I didn't love it and I didn't hate it, but I did need to make some adjustments. So I was like, yeah, we got to fix this and move that and, do these things. And what it taught me is that I challenge myself to get out of my comfort zone, but there's a difference between challenging yourself to get out of your comfort zone and things just not being for you. And sometimes things are not for you. It might be bomb for somebody else, but not your thing. And that's okay. I can celebrate someone else's dope hairstyle, dope style, or whatever it is that they may have that is for them and not for me, and be okay with that. On the other side of that, we should challenge ourselves to try new things and don't use "it's just not my thing" as an excuse because fear creeped in. I always think the universe is funny because when a message comes, it never just comes just with one messenger. It's usually multiple messages and you find them all over the place. As I was exploring this, playing it safe versus what is for me, I kept getting these confirmations or messages from all over the place. That same week, Miss Elisa Johnson was on Facebook Live. She was talking about getting in position and staying in position so that you are ready and available for the blessings that God has for you, despite what the situation may look like. You could be in that position for some time, being prepared for what's to come. Then a little later, Willie Moore Jr., he does these 5 or 10 minute motivational moments, and he was basically talking about the same thing, but he was a football player and talking about having to be in position to catch the ball. And that's the same concept that Mrs. Johnson was talking about. But what really brought it home for me was T.D. Jakes had a sermon and he was talking about knowing your role. And in this sermon, he was talking about more of the comparison piece, not comparing yourself to others because the gift that was given to you was for you and nobody else. I always talk about the sauce. No one else has your sauce. He gave that gift to you. And he was talking about comparisons as it related to like birds, or chicken never wanted to be the peacock. The peacock is, beautiful and it spreads its wings, where the eagle's role is to fly and soar high. And the eagle never wanted to be the peacock and the peacock never wanted to be the eagle. And they were just great with the blessings that they had and that was given to them. I thought about this because this is exactly what I was saying earlier about, is this for me? Am I playing it safe? Or is it fear? Or this is just not the role that I'm supposed to have and I'm embracing who I am. That really struck a chord in terms of looking at my day-to-day and how I operate. What things do I play it safe on and what things do I shy away from? And if those things that I shy away from, are those things legitimate? Meaning I know the difference. I have discernment to say, this is just not for me. There is a position that's available. I'm qualified for it, but, I can't help but to mention this, like Stacey Abrams. It looked like she had defeat as it relates to not getting the seat for governor, but now you register all these people to vote. You've basically turned a state around, from Republican to Democrat to move them into a different space. And so sometimes when you're in a position and you know your role, you don't allow the distractions to sway you left or right. You don't allow what may look attractive in the moment take you from where you're meant to be, that has a higher purpose than that immediate gratification. Or if you just decided to accept defeat, it didn't work for me, so I'm gonna throw in the towel. It's like, no, this is when you pivot. This is when you stand firm and understand what your purpose is, and you can't throw a stone at every barking dog kind of thing. Like, everything that looks attractive, everything that glitters isn't gold, and everything that glitters isn't for you. So really taking the time to understand, hey, what is my role? What exactly is my role? What did God make me to be? That's one. Two, am I playing my position? Am I available to receive instruction, direction, and the gifts and blessings that were made for me? Am I available for those things? And then, am I playing it safe? Is it I am avoiding these things because I'm terrified? Or is it me just staying true to the role that I know that I'm supposed to play, the position that I know that I need to be in to be able to receive? Or is it just you just blocking your blessings? And a part of that, and in another conversation, I was talking to one of my girlfriends, and we were actually talking about online dating. And she was like, well, have you considered X, Y, and Z? And I'm like, nah, I've been swiping left on that. And she said, why? And I was like, I don't know. It just wasn't, not that I'm not interested, but it's just unfamiliar territory. And she looked at me and I looked at her and I was like, here we go. This is a lesson. And just because it's unfamiliar territory doesn't mean it's not for you. Just because it's unfamiliar territory does not mean that you don't have the skills to be able to navigate in that territory. Just because it's unfamiliar doesn't mean you're not qualified to be there. And, I roll my eyes at her like, you know what? It's a podcast. Like, this is a podcast episode. But there was a lesson in that. After I rolled my eyes and, stomped my feet in this, you know that song. I rolled my eyes and stomped my feet. If you don't know that, DM me and I'll tell you the rest. But anyway, this is where, you get those day-to-day interactions that really get you thinking about what it is that you're meant to be doing, and that self-awareness. So if it wasn't triggered by my first friend by calling me safe, I would never taken the time to really process that. Like, is that true? And, the bottom line is that he was right. I'm definitely safe, but there's areas in my life that I'm not. And so the areas that I play it safe, I don't really consider it safe. And when we talked about this, when I started this, I said, I think I'm more strategic. But what I realized is that I know my position. I know that the role that I'm supposed to be playing, because when I feel myself playing it safe in a space that I know that I was meant to be stretched, I don't have a choice. I feel like my back is against the wall, and it's like, girl, you got to do this. You have to do this. Like, you don't have an option not to. You don't have an option to decide not to be great. You don't have an option not to respond to what God is telling you to do. And, that was a part of my conversation with my girlfriend. And she was like, well, if God opens a door, are you going to close it? And I was like, girl, you think I'm crazy? I am not crazy. And I don't know if all my listeners believe in God, but it's whatever, the greater being or purpose is for you, whatever that looks like. It's God for me. That it's God for me. It's God for me. But when she said that, I was like, no, ma'am, I'm not crazy. I'm never shutting a door that God has opened for me. I'm never shutting a door. I am never turning my back on a door that God, has opened for me. I may go through it scared, but I'm going through it. And so this episode, I really want you guys to take this week to do some self-awareness. Do you know what your role is? Do you play it safe? And when you think about whether or not you play it safe, do you play it safe, or is it that you know that this isn't for you and your feelings are not driving it? This is, I know my position, I know my role, and I'm going to stand in it so I'm able to receive and give whatever it is that God has intended me to do or give or to be for others. I know that's really deep. And then the other question is, are there doors that you allowed to close or that you decided not to walk in because you were afraid or because you were playing it safe? Thank you guys for joining me this week. If you like the podcast, please follow me on Spotify. You can also subscribe on iTunes. I am also on Instagram at bittergreens1. So if you like quotes and want to drop comments about the episodes, you can meet me there. I look forward to talking with you guys next week. Now go win the day. Don't let the day win you.